Southern California, yeah.
Born and raised on DNA. Laugh and cry to what we say. We hit you with that wordplay.
4053.
What episode are we on? D, they feeling like baby zombies, all dressed in Abercrombie.
SoCal DNA coming in live. 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night. COVID got you sitting inside. Why not sip one and free your mind?
Cheap thrills, popping pills, stack cash, spend it fast.
Listen to all of those lies as Arjun act like he's surprised.
So I may have kind of messed up that song there by, singing along with it, more or less. But I'm really excited, man. This is the second week in a row that we're hitting it at the right time.
Yeah, and it's funny because, the audience may not know this, but whenever Dawn plays the intro, because of our recording setup, only Dawn can hear all the volume, all the noise, the complete mix. I, on the other hand, only hear Dawn's voice. So all I heard in that first 20, 30 seconds was Dawn go, yeah, lock. And I'm like, okay, all right, he must be at that part of the song now. Okay, that's a great cue. So I appreciated that, Dawn. It was really good.
Oh man!
But I can't wait to hear the complete mix when I listen to the podcast episode later for the timestamp. Hopefully. And so, by the way, I know some audience members have been talking about, when is the Spotify connection happening? When are we going to get on Spotify?
Hey, how easy is it to get on Spotify?
So I must have looked it up before.
Or rather, how hard?
It's actually not that difficult. It's not that difficult. We just have to satisfy some of their criteria. Like, first of all, and this to me is the biggest roadblock, we have to settle on a logo. We have to settle on like an official SoCal DNA logo that we use as our picture. Because once we have that, then it's a matter of taking all of those video files that you recorded and extracting the audio only in a high enough bitrate MP3 form. So once we do that, it's just a matter of, making an account, uploading it on a weekly basis or however often we do, and we should be good to go. It doesn't seem too difficult.
So we'll probably get to it like next year.
At this rate, that's actually pretty accurate. It's pretty accurate. But I feel for the fans because, YouTube is great, in terms of sharing the video and whatnot, but I know a lot of our listeners like the audio only, or they have the YouTube running maybe on their phone, but because they're not a YouTube premium.
Yes. They can't minimize and keep it on in the background while doing other things.
Yeah, right. It can be a little inconvenient. So I just got to say, for our now 6 subscribers out there, thank you so much for hanging tough, for hanging in there. I know this is less than ideal conditions for your podcasting enjoyment, but we like that you keep listening. And I gotta say, even though we just have 6 subscribers, if you look at our average view count, and Dawn, I don't know if you've taken the time to look at the numbers a little bit, but we tend to be clocking in.
We hit double digits. I know we hit double digits. I check every now and
more
then.
than that.
No.
Bro.
Yeah, you're lying.
Okay, not triple digits, not triple.
Well, all right, dude. I was gonna say, man, you're pulling on my heartstrings here.
I know. But basically, I was like, no, we're not just 10 as in the double digit. We're kind of in the 20s on average.
All right, but let's be honest. Like 10 of them are you.
No, that's the thing. Like, I've been doing really well not to listen to myself talk. I've been trying really hard not to listen to myself, and I would say for the past 3 or 4 episodes, only one of those views is me, because obviously, to do the timestamps, I go through it.
Sure.
But the rest seem to be coming from other people.
Got it.
And that's interesting to me. I don't know who is watching, who is listening, but thank you, whoever you are, even if you're watching and listening multiple times a day, multiple times a week, even revisiting older podcasts. We thank you so much. We appreciate you. And so, this kind of a message, this kind of a very ingratiating message to the fans is exactly the right way to start off this podcast. But you know what way is not good to start off a presidential race? By dropping out. Dropping out after 4 days.
Okay.
Dropping out after 4 days. So let me kind of explain. Obviously, fans know, we have been boring you to death with nothing but Kanye West talk for the past 2 episodes. And as a matter of fact, I was so lazy in the last episode, I didn't even bother to make a new thumbnail. I just took whatever Don was looking at on his screen.
Which was greatness.
It was greatness personified, I suppose. It was a picture of Kanye West on the article from, I think it was Forbes. So, I read the other day, and I think this was just yesterday, with some interview from Kanye's people, like one of his, campaign managers or whatever. There was a attempt made to go to Florida and try to find a way to get Kanye's name on the ballot. But unfortunately, there just wasn't enough time, and it seemed like the effort was just too grand for Kanye to get this done. And he was like, you know what? I'm out. I'm good. And that to me was like, okay, from the very beginning, I told you, I didn't know how serious this would be. I didn't know if Kanye would take this all the way to November 3rd and maybe drop an album there, or if this was just like a spur of the moment, hey, I'm having a lot of fun. This is a 4th of July weekend, late night. Let me send out this tweet and just have the fans go crazy. I don't know which one it was. And now it seems to be a little more to the latter, right? A little more to just a spur of the moment type of decision with no preparedness. And now we see him dropping out. So quick thoughts before we move on. Did you expect this to happen, or are you disappointed?
Dude, I am super bummed out about it, man. I had my hopes up. I had my dreams, right there, ready, within grasp, just a couple months away. Now it's all taken away, so I'm bummed out.
So obviously now you're voting for your backup plan, who is
Gary Johnson.
Gary Johnson. Is he still?
You know what?
Around?
I would not be surprised if he is.
I'm surprised you didn't say Jill Stein while you're at it. But okay, very interesting. I think we will probably revisit this at a later time. But yeah, bye-bye Kanye West. It was great analyzing your political beliefs, or I should say lack thereof. And your,
come on. He's gone a step further than 99.9% of the people here, and he's voiced his opinion, and he's doing it on the grandiose stage that he has. So maybe that plays a factor. But come on, don't be too hard on Kanye, dude. He's had it rough.
I think I've been hard on Kanye ever since he canceled the rest of his tour a mere 7 days before I was supposed to go attend one of his shows. I think ever since that day, I was like, you know what?
A little bitter, aren't you?
I hold that grudge. But to be honest, I understood.
You know what, Kanye? If you're listening, I don't have any grudges against you, man. So, just shoot over the tickets. I'm a size 12. If you ever want to shoot over some shoes, maybe we could do a collab one day, and it'll just be you and me. It'll be the SoCal DNA or something like that.
That's actually really catchy. SoCal DNA. Maybe you should spin that off. I like it. Now speaking of other diehard Kanye West fans, we have Chance the Rapper. It was probably a day or two ago. Chance the Rapper was publicly advocating for Kanye West's presidential bid on Twitter. And naturally, he got tremendous pushback. People were criticizing him and saying, oh, do you not understand? A vote for Kanye means a vote less for Biden, and you're basically splitting the vote for the African-American population, for the youth population, and making it even easier for Trump to be reelected. And Chance was very, defensive. He was almost ready to die on a hill, except he got an endorsement from a very unlikely source, Terry Crews. Terry Crews is probably, to me at least, most famous for his roles on Everybody Hates Chris as the father of Chris Rock, and also on Brooklyn Nine-Nine more recently.
I think you got it wrong. It's Old Spice commercials.
That's true too. He's been in the Old Spice commercials as the guy with the pecs just bouncing up and down. And also he's been, I think, in a movie or two, right? Like, wasn't he on?
He's all over the place. He's all over the place.
Yeah.
He plays his style and role very, very well. And his latest gig is as the host of America's Got Talent.
Really? I didn't even know he was hosting.
Yeah, man. See, dude, it shows how much you know about Terry Crews, dude.
Well, I suppose a quick Wikipedia search could have told me that too, but I did not do that. Perhaps you are. So before I get into like the whole dynamic between Terry Crews and Chance, let me ask you, just to see if you know, what do you think the perception of Terry Crews is? Like, is he well respected? Is he well liked? Does he have?
Well, I think maybe a year or two ago, he was just seen as a caricature of the portrayal that he often plays. But I think because of some of the things that have transpired over the past couple years, where he's openly admitted to there being harassment in Hollywood and things of that sort, he's gained a certain level of respect across some populations while losing that of the, I guess, professional side of what you would call media.
Okay, so I'm going to need you to be a little bit clear about that.
His public perception is better now, and he's a respected man. That's what I think. Because it takes a certain amount of gusto to speak out about such things, such heinous acts that have been done to some people.
Okay, so I just Googled, why do people hate Terry Crews? And I found this article from Entertainment, I guess Entertainment Weekly, EW.com, written by Mike Miller from June 8th, 2020, called Terry Crews Sparks Outrage with Controversial Black Supremacy Tweet.
Ooh.
So Terry Crews, I guess you didn't know about this one.
No,
Terry Crews is facing backlash after tweeting Sunday night, in part, that defeating white supremacy without white people creates black supremacy. He added, "Equality is the truth, and like it or not, we're all in this together." So the Brooklyn Nine-Nine star did not elaborate on his black supremacy remark, which comes amid the protests and everything. And, his name was trending on Twitter, and everybody was kind of like reinterpreting what he was saying in different ways. But tell me this, when you read that quote, and I'll read it again for your analysis: defeating white supremacy without white people creates black supremacy. Equality is the truth. Like it or not, we're all in this together. Just face value, what is your immediate reaction to that?
I think he had one too many sentences there. I think he would have been fine with that second sentence or second statement. What is it, like equality is something?
Equality is the truth?
Yeah, should have just wrote that. That would have been more than sufficient. I think he messed up in allowing his first statement to be chopped up, as I'm sure we're going to do in the next 5 minutes.
We are. So my immediate interpretation, and I apologize to Black Twitter if they're mad at me when I say this, but my immediate interpretation, if we're dissecting it very slowly, defeating white supremacy without white people creates black supremacy. I don't agree with it creating black supremacy, so to speak, but I think what he's really trying to say is we need white people to come along for the ride, come along for the cause, in order for us to really truly attack the root of the systemic oppression, the root of the white supremacy that exists in the very fabric of America. I think that's what he's trying to say, but by putting in creates black supremacy, do you think he's kind of saying, like, I don't know what he's trying to say. I think
he's trying to say it's just one form of oppression in a different format or something of that sort, where if you continue doing what you're doing, you're just doing a form of oppression that is different but still same and cut of the same cloth.
Oh, okay. So you're basically saying if it's just, in this example, if it's just the black people defeating white supremacy, they become the supreme quote-unquote race, right?
Yeah. Well, not so much, but you know what I mean. Not supreme race, but they become the ones that are on top, more or less, or something of that sort, that look down.
I see. I guess, okay, that is very fair. I think this was really the crux of the reason why everybody was appalled by this statement. And then to add to it, he says equality is the truth. And then he says, like it or not, we're all in this together. Like it or not, I think that also reflects a little bit of this attitude, like, hey, I know what's best. I know what I speak is right. And I speak for a large group of people. I think that's kind of the impression that he's giving. But when he's setting himself up like this, I can see why it would be misinterpreted, or at least it would be interpreted in a way that would offend people. So now, jumping back a little bit, as soon as Terry Crews kind of endorsed Chance the Rapper and the things that he was saying, defending Kanye West and whatnot, Chance was like, okay, hold on a second. I know I have gone off the deep end if this guy is coming to my defense. If Terry Crews is the one who's agreeing with me, I need to find my way down this hill so I don't die on it. So he starts asking questions like, all right, explain to me this, explain to me that. Not talking to Terry Crews, but just talking to his Twitter followers. And then he was like, all right, I'm running down this hill now. I am joining everybody else at the bottom as quickly as possible. I'm done. I'm not going to advocate for this anymore. I just want a president that will fight for social justice reform, that will fight for prison reform. That's basically what it bottled down to for him.
Sure.
So what do you make of that, though, that Terry Crews single-handedly made Chance the Rapper change his perspective? Like, it wasn't anybody else on Twitter. It wasn't any of his friends. It was just Terry Crews. Isn't that kind of interesting?
No. I mean, it's interesting, but I think it goes to show how social media can blow a discussion up out of proportion, and force people to make decisions just to protect that public image that is displayed across all of social media. Because if he were to dive deeper into it and not backpedal as quickly as he did, who knows how many followers he would have lost, and who knows if he has an album coming out soon, or who knows if he has a possible feature set up with Kanye that he needed to make this endorsement, for something like that. And I think this will ultimately kind of showcase how Chance is, part of our younger generation, and Terry Crews may be representative of an older culture, and he wants to distance himself from that, as we tend to have different ideologies about certain things like these.
Yeah, and I guess in a way, part of the back and forth between Chance and Terry Crews on Twitter, Crews was saying something to the effect of, I wasn't really endorsing the guy. I was just supporting the freedom of speech, right? Like, kind of supporting thinking independently, thinking without being conforming to some kind of a status quo, to some kind of a broader opinion that's popular and acceptable. I think that's what he was trying to say, trying to defend Chance's, independence. But of course, any endorsement from Crews at this point does not look very highly. So I understand that. Now, speaking of that, though, like in terms of saying things that's on your mind and being independently thinking, another thing I noticed on Twitter, and yes, I apologize, I have been on Twitter more often than not this past week. For those of you that may not know, there's this comedian presenter called Nick Cannon. He was probably best known to be the ex-husband of Mariah Carey. I think that's probably his best accomplishment in his life, in his career. Since then, he's moved on to hosting different shows. He might have tried to rap and start some beef with Eminem.
And, to give him a little bit of credit, he is now the host of Power 106's morning show. He took over.
Did that happen before? It
or
happened
after?
Like
earlier this year.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay, so I mean, don't get me wrong. I know this guy is a veteran of the game in terms of presenting, being an MC, being a host of different things. He's been around. I don't necessarily consider myself to be a fan of him, but he's been around. I've seen enough of him to know what he's like, and apparently he showed us.
Have you heard his battle against Eminem?
I chose not to. Because he's not worth my time, to be perfectly honest.
He wasn't worth Eminem's time either, because he didn't even reply.
Well, there you go. Case in point, ladies and gentlemen. Real recognize real. And clearly, this guy was not very real. So, back to this, though. Essentially, he was on a podcast sometime in June, and he espoused his viewpoint on white people. I think he said something to the effect of, white people are animalistic, and then he went on to talk about Jews. I didn't watch the whole clip. I was mostly reading the article excerpts from the podcast, and it sounded bad. Just reading it sounded pretty bad. I mean, of course, you can always find people that may support it. You can always find people that support the idea of his freedom of speech. But the way I look at it, dude, you're such a public figure. You're very well known. And you're doing this on a public forum, a podcast, which is going to be listened to by people. Maybe just 6 people, but still, those are people. And they could easily take that clip and upload it to YouTube. So what I'm thinking is it was the right decision for Viacom and I guess MTV to take him off the show Wild 'N Out, because think about the other side of the argument. If you keep him on, you're basically saying that, Viacom and MTV, they endorse him, they support his views, or they don't really take it too seriously, and they don't really care about the comments and how hurtful they could be toward the Jewish community, toward even white people in this case. So my take is, if you're a public figure of that regard, of that stature, you can't fuck up like this. You can't say things that are going to come back to haunt you like the day of. So do you think his dismissal from MTV's Wild 'N Out, a show that I admittedly never watch, was justified? Or do you think, you know what, he was just speaking his mind freely on a podcast? It's America. It's a free country. We just celebrated July 4th. Cut him some slack. Give him a break.
Nope. If you're getting paid by somebody, you got to follow their rules. Just like at every company, there are a certain set of rules and values that one must uphold, because ultimately you are a representative of the company. So, I expect that Viacom CBS did not align themselves with those statements and did not want the backlash that will and is occurring right now. Is it wrong? No. In his position, is it wrong? Yes. Case in point, look at what LeBron James did when China was getting a lot of heat. And what did he say when he was talking about was it Dallas Mavericks person or the Houston person? I don't know if you remember that a couple months ago.
Daryl Morey.
There we go.
Morey.
Right?
Yeah,
They said something about that, and LeBron's like, wait, shoe sales. Nike, what do I do? Nike's like, oh yeah, you gotta just do this. All right, cool. You gotta do that when you're at that level. And I'm not comparing Nick Cannon and LeBron James to be 1-on-1, but they're at least damn near closer to each other than we are to them.
Sure.
They have an impact with every word that they say. This guy was chosen to be a morning talk show host of a very influential LA, and I would argue nationwide, radio morning show. You gotta be a little more careful about that, man. It's like, why are you gonna bite the hand that feeds you?
Sure. But I think this kind of brings up an interesting question about whether or not people of his stature deserve preferential treatment. And I say this because, I don't know if you heard, and I know I didn't talk about this previously, but
Sure.
Adrian Wojnarowski, famous ESPN reporter, Adrian Wojnarowski, arguably one of the best reporters out there for the NBA, because he's the one that's dropping the Woj bombs on a daily basis, especially during free agency, during the trade deadline. You hear it coming from his Twitter first and foremost. Recently, I guess, in response to a senator who was talking about the NBA and how it was being hypocritical by allowing the athletes to sport some kind of a, Black Lives Matters related message on the back of their jersey, but they're not saying anything regarding China about their dealings with the Uyghur Muslims, about their horrible treatment of them, about Hong Kong basically being taken over, not given the, political autonomy, the, democracy that was kind of promised to them from 1997 onwards. So all of these things were kind of, put into the forefront. And Adrian Wojnarowski, I don't know why he did this, but from his work email account, So Adrian Wojnarowski at ESPN.com, he just sends a simple 2-word email directly to the office of the senator. And it was something to the effect of, fuck you. He just said, fuck you, directly to this guy. And the senator, of course, being a little tattletale, he decides to publish this. He posts a picture of it and notifies the NBA. And the NBA, or perhaps through ESPN, essentially slaps Wojnarowski on the wrist and suspends him for like a week. Which is nothing, which is absolutely nothing. The season doesn't even start until the 30th, so that's totally fine. So my question to you is, what do you think about that? Do you think that's appropriate, basically, for somebody who is a well-established reporter, who's been in the game for quite some time, who's almost indispensable, for him to get that kind of preferential treatment about something that he should have never done using his work account? But then on the flip side, you look at somebody like Nick Cannon, who doesn't get that same level of appreciation. He didn't slide. So is that fair?
Dude, well, first off, you're cutting in and out, so I apologize if I missed some of the question. But when it comes to a reporter, what are they supposed to do, in your opinion? It's rhetorical, but at least in mine, they're supposed to stir the pot. They're supposed to bring up those, or surface those controversies and those breaking news segments that would basically rile the world in a good or bad way. Woj has been doing it in a good way for us, breaking damn good news during free agency to us and keeping us on our toes, refreshing his feed. I think you and I had a little segment or a little time where we were just constantly refreshing it. Oh, did you hear that? Woj just posted this. Oh, Shams posted this too. Oh, it's legit. Shit like that. I don't see him being a perfect human being, and of course he's going to slip up. He's defending his craft, I think, in his beliefs. And I don't know how you see politicians who are trying to force something onto you, but I assume he felt some sort of force being put onto him, and he was just speaking his mind as a representative of the Basketball Association. Whether or not he could speak for everyone, I don't know. But the fact that he only got a slap in the wrist for a week suspension, really, with the season not even on, shows that, the NBA's got his back and maybe supports what he said.
Okay, so I guess what you're saying is the comparison between doing this, sending a 2-word response to Howley using a corporate email, is rather tame compared to what Nick Cannon did on the podcast, basically going into his views, speaking at length about how he feels about white people and all that. Yeah, I agree. I think,
dude, honestly, he didn't even have to use 2 words. He could have just used the middle finger emoji. That would have been more than enough.
He could have.
And make sure it's a dark hand too, not a white hand, just to really throw off that politician. Like, how do I reply to this?
he purposely changes the color to like the brownest one you could find, and Howley's looking at it like, wait, what? What does this mean? Is there an added meaning to this now that it's brown? No, I hear you, and I think we all just want Wojnarowski to come back into the mix, and the NBA players have been.
And honestly, dude, the season doesn't start until next week, and that's with them doing like scrimmages. So he's not going to miss out much. He's probably chilling in the bubble right now, just hanging out anyways, probably sipping some Mai Tais with Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck.
And speaking of, some people may not look too kindly upon doing anything with some unscrupulous characters inside the bubble, because I don't know if you're aware, but there is a new hotline set up inside this bubble, which is affectionately being known as the Snitch hotline. And essentially, players are calling in anonymously and reporting on each other, saying things like, oh, he stepped out of the boundary to pick up some food, or, oh, he invited somebody over, blah, blah, blah. And this is happening already, and I look at it 2 ways. Number one, obviously, the whole idea of stop snitching, anti-snitch culture is very apparent. I think we all know that a lot of things go on behind the scenes that aren't reported, and it's generally treated as such. It's a lot of hush hush, a lot of behind closed doors. But at the same time, a lot of money is on the line here. You know, the NBA has invested damn near $150 million into this whole bubble, you know, situation just to make sure players are safe, just to make sure the games can be played and televised, and all the crew, the equipment, everything's there and on point. So there's a lot of money riding on this. And I also think some of the veteran players are going to be the ones doing the snitching. I'm sure you might have taken a look at some of these articles here with hilarious reactions from fans, by the way, just captioning these memes with LeBron James, with, Chris Paul, doing all the snitching primarily. Chris Paul is just talking to the ref over and over again, calling people and saying, hey, you know, he's doing this, he's doing that. LeBron saying, hey, I saw Kawhi Leonard come back from the strip club and he brought home some people too. You might want to check that out. Goodbye. You know, just doing all these things. And I think it's funny. I think it's hilarious. I don't know what to make of it. I don't know if this is a real problem. But what is your take on the snitch hotline? Do you like it?
Yeah, I do actually like it. Reason being is I don't want the season to fucking end early. It's already ended, and we're just restarting it. If an infection were to run rampant for the players, it would just end the season completely, I think. Or whoever would ultimately win the championship with a broken team, or broken organization at that, wouldn't mean as much, if anything, compared to past years. So I applaud what the Snitch Hotline is supposed to do, which is to protect the sport and the completion of the season. I don't enjoy the fact that it is being called the Snitch Hotline, even though it is, because snitches get stitches, right? And I'm sure that rolls for the brotherhood of the players of the NBA. So it's kind of like a double edge. I want to say it's okay, but at the same time I can't, for the sake of, you know, if I were a player myself. So from a player's perspective, hate it. Sucks.
Right.
You know, it's crying mama when you're supposed to be a man that could handle him or herself, and you got your boys to back you up, and you would do the same for them. You can't do that for a snitch. But as someone who wants to see the season's completion in a organized and legitimate fashion, or as organized and as legitimate as it can be given the crisis we're in, you know, I enjoy it. Whether or not it's going to be effective, I doubt it, but, you know, one can hope.
So just a fun question for you.
Yes.
What do you think the acronym Snitch, S.N.I.T.C.H, stands for?
I didn't know it was an acronym for something. What is it?
Well, I'm not going to say the exact words, but Pusha T had a song about it. But I'm going to put a twist on it. I think to make it more NBA and family friendly, I'll say it's sorry, Nance Jr. I'm trying to clinch home court. I really like that. I mean, obviously, the real thing is something else, but I like that. I think when you look at it from that perspective, this is big. I mean, any kind of advantage to help you win in the playoffs is huge, and this type of scenario is completely unprecedented. Never before in the history of any sports league has this kind of a bubble city ever emerged. So if LeBron can gain some kind of an advantage by reporting on Paul George, reporting on Kawhi, on Harden, why not? You know,
hey,
just do it.
It's a new interpretation of the Bad Boys. The Bad Boys of 2020. The Bad Boys of the bubble. You know.
I like that. The Bad Bubble Boys. I like that. And what are they doing? They're just snitching. They're snitching on each other. They're picking up the phone.
They're gonna do a 30 for 30 on this one day, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, you wouldn't know how many hits we got on this hotline. Chris Paul was calling every single freaking day, and dude got eliminated already."
You know what they would do? They would like basically obscure the voices and the face of the players. Like, yeah, I was calling on my own teammate. I was mad at him. He ate the last cupcake. just like some really silly shit like that.
Shit.
And would it be so funny, dude, if like Westbrook calls it on Harden, and for the sole purpose of Westbrook being the only one to get like a quadruple double every game.
Yeah, that's what he likes. Like, I wanted a playoff average of a triple double, and the only way to solidify it was to call my boy out. So I took the L. Us Rockets. I mean, our team. Oh
man, I wouldn't surprise me. People have different motivations in life. It's not always about winning that championship.
Oh, it is, man. It is. Once you reach that level. All right, so this I think is a good question to ask, man.
Sure.
I apologize if you had a segue lined up.
No, I didn't. But go ahead.
I mean, I think once you reach a certain level in your profession, and let's use the NBA as this specific example. What's more important, the money, the chip, or something else? And let's set aside family, because family is always going to run number one for us. So let's exclude that as an option.
Right. So this kind of ties into something we were discussing before, the 4 Fs, right?
Yep.
It was like the fame, fortune, family, and what was the other one? Famine? Can't be famine. It's not famine.
Fame, family, fortune, and freedom.
Freedom. That's right. I think it depends on what you value in life, obviously. For these players who are at the top of their game, who've made lots of money already, I can understand how the concept of continuing to make money isn't as enticing as other prospects. Especially for the players that truly do love basketball and care about it and plan to be in the NBA community in some form or another for years to come. I think having at least one championship means a lot. Mm-hmm. Kevin Durant knew this. That's why he went to Golden State. Mm-hmm.
And that's why he's at Brooklyn, right? That's why. Championship caliber team right there, right? I think it was said from Spencer Dinwiddie himself. Like, they're coming for him.
Yeah, Spencer Dinwiddie, better known as Dinwiddie, he definitely, that team. I'll tell you this much: I liked the Nets a lot before they got Kyrie, before they got Kevin Durant. I thought that young group, Spencer Dinwiddie,
they were exciting.
You had. Yeah, and the center, Jarrett Allen, he was dope with the big fro, throwing it back to the 70s. I mean, they had.
But the problem is with that team. As great as they were in regards to potential, ultimately, when their salaries or their contracts were coming up to an end, they were expecting a bigger paycheck, and they wouldn't be able to survive financially, I think, with that same core if they had kept moving forward that way.
Yeah, I think that's the tragedy of it all, right? I mean, the way that the CBA is structured, if you do have a promising young group, you really only have about, maybe 4 years to try to get it all together. And if you can, then great. You have the Warriors, essentially, or you have Oklahoma City Thunder with Ibaka, Westbrook, Durant, and Harden. You have that kind of a situation. But in the situation where it's just Dinwiddie and, Jarrett Allen, and who was the other guy? I keep forgetting his name. He was the forward on the Brooklyn Nets. Karis LeVert, right? Mm-hmm. He was very, very good. All these guys, they're promising, they're talented, they can win some games, but I agree, if you make them eat up most of your cap space, can you really win a championship? Can you contend? Chances are in this league, you can't. And maybe you just don't have that much time to wait on them to become the next big thing. It may be smarter to just go for the big thing right now, and that's exactly what they did. They went for the Kyrie. But Kyrie got injured, and he barely played.
Caliber point guard.
I have to say, my opinion of Kyrie was the highest during his rookie year. And every year since then, well, with the exception of the year that he actually won with LeBron James, I thought that was a good effort. But ever since then, with all
effort.
That was a good effort. I think he had a clutch shot there.
Yeah, that little step back, iconic step back.
Iconic is too loosely used in this day and age.
Is he a bum to you?
He's a bum now because he has bummy knees and bummy legs and bummy ankles and bummy everything.
He's had those, man. He's had those.
Yeah, he's had those for some time now. We're seeing it more often. I think he used to cover it up with some actual skill and some real determination to play the game. Now he's perfectly content, just I don't even know what Kyrie's up to right now. Like, I heard he got pissed off because the team wouldn't let him join them in the bubble. Like, I guess they were trying to reserve the number of spots for other people, and Kyrie was very insistent on joining the team, but they just wouldn't let him.
Man, he just wanted to go on the teacups ride. He just wanted to go on everything himself. That was all.
You know those teacups rides? Like, I remember, I thought you could actually steer the teacups by turning the wheel in the middle. Like, somebody told me that. So I would try really, really hard to turn the wheel, and it felt like it was moving, but I don't think it really was, and I damn sure wasn't steering. But in any case, I hope that the bubble goes well. You know, despite all the snitching, despite all the, you know, teams that are there that may not be happy, I hope it goes well. I like to see less complaining, first and foremost. I'm sure you would agree. Players posting pictures about their living situation. I mean, dude, you're still in a suite.
Bro,
all expenses
but have
paid.
you seen those meals? Those meals look like cafeteria meals, man.
Show me. Like, okay, tell me. Okay, I'm gonna look this up.
Alright,
I'm gonna look this up right now. So NBA bubble food. I'm just gonna look that up on Google. Inside the NBA bubble, food scandal was overblown, though not all made up. All right, let's take a look.
All right, yeah, I'm looking at the same link really quick.
Okay, so I'm looking at this. This is a nice little
So
spread.
it's from The
here.
Athletic. Inside the NBA bubble, food scandal was overblown, though not fully made up, or though not all made up.
That's right.
Published
And this is
today.
by Joe Varden.
Look at
Published
that.
today,
Okay, all right.
July.
So like, just look at the picture. How does
Yeah.
that look? Does that look like a high caliber athlete meal?
Well, what's wrong about it? Tell me first what's wrong.
I mean, dude, they're not being served on plates. They're basically being served in to-go trays.
Okay, so two of your points are the same thing. Keep going.
The meal doesn't seem to be... Well, it does seem to be kind of complete. I think
It's
number
extremely complete. It's totally balanced. Are you kidding me? Look at that.
Hey, man.
You got everything there.
Oh, all right. So no, I apologize. I saw one nut, but the nuts have actually been moved around. I saw the nut on top of the grapes, and I'm like, oh, really? You're going to hit me with, like, one pecan? Or
one pecan or walnut. That's right.
you know?
Right.
To give them bagged fruit, the one above it, why are they giving them bagged fruit instead of an actual orange itself? I assume that's an orange. Like half an orange or something like that.
What if it's like bread? Could be like a piece of bread.
Well, that's even worse, dude. Prepackaged bread like that. I get the salad. The salad, okay, I get, but it's not high caliber salad, I would assume, right? You got the on the top right of that salad package with the cucumbers. What is that? The dressing? That looks like it's a damn, like, you know,
There's no
little
dressing.
creamer.
There's
Well,
no
what's that
dressing.
red thing? No, what's that red thing next to the cucumber on top of the tomato?
Oh, dude, I thought that was a tomato.
Yeah, you see what I mean? Like that looks
Okay,
like
that is
a
dressing.
looks
That
like
is
a creamer
dressing, yeah.
cup, right? That's
Sure.
like something you would expect out of a vending machine. You got the iconic right in the middle on the top portion, the butterballs, which
Sure.
are a joke. The meal seems alright, right? You got the white rice, which they always eat for the carbs and sustenance, and then you got them with a bunch of protein on that beef, I assume, which
Right.
doesn't look cooked well, or it looks cooked
It looks
really
well
well.
done.
Yeah, but it
Yeah,
doesn't cook,
yeah.
or it's not cooked in a chefy way that you would expect.
No, but
out
it's
of
like
the-
gyro. It's like gyro, right?
Are you
Like
sure?
shave that off.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
think so.
I hope so, because that poor cow might have died in vain if that wasn't. And then you got another salad thing without a little creamer cup of dressing for some reason, or ranch, and who knows what is in that Chinese to-go
Carrots.
box there. No, on top, right on top. Are those like egg rolls?
On the top, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure, maybe. I don't know. I don't know.
But to me,
actually.
like, because everything is all pre-packaged, something like you could probably get a better meal on an airplane than this.
Well, here's the thing though. Like, I don't know if we should read too much into this, because maybe this was just like one meal that they had,
Sure.
and it's not an indication of every meal.
Well,
right?
But they're trying to ramp them up right before scrimmage and to get them ready for the season, or the postseason rather, or the remainder of the season, what we call it, or the qualification rounds, I guess, into the postseason.
Okay, this is
isn't the way
okay.
to do it.
This is how I look at it. I understand what you're saying, but this is how I look at it. This is a iterative process. So this was probably day one, and the NBA was like, all right, let's get all the chefs in here. You know, just make very generic food. You know, make it bland, and then depending on what the players say, you know, we'll take their feedback into account, and then we'll ramp up the ingredients. We'll ramp up the
So,
produce.
so
We'll
like
have some.
under promise, over deliver the next day.
Well, no, it's basically continue to underpromise as long as possible, and then deliver just adequately from time to time. And to be honest with you, I think this is fine. To be honest, if you had this for lunch, you'd be happy, right? I mean, you got plenty of food here.
I mean, dude, personally, yeah. Like, well, personally, yes and no. Yes, because the amount of food you get is definitely more than enough. B, no, because, dude, you're giving up the burgers that Anthony Davis has been eating constantly for this. How do you... I don't know. You know, I'm very particular about food. And to me, this is a joke. Especially knowing that it's feeding 6-figure people, 7-figure people.
I honestly think there's nothing wrong with this. Like, this isn't even that bad.
Amen.
Like, the only thing that stands out to me here is the butter balls. Like, that seems completely unnecessary.
Oh, not
to
the
me.
creamer cup of dressing?
No, because it's a small package of dressing. You're not going to have like a big old, little floppy package. You're going to have the creamer cup.
In the days that we live in, all professional athletes have personal chefs, if they could afford it, which most of the time they can. This is so many cuts under that, and
well, guess what? Guess what? I bet you LeBron brought his personal chef with him into the bubble. I guarantee you.
Yeah, was that allowed?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's part of his policy.
You know what? Hey, that's part of the snitch hotline, right? There's like, hey, there's this one guy here carrying knives. You gotta get him. God damn it! I think
too much cutlery.
He was carrying bags of meat. You know, it looked fresh too. So you should probably get on him.
Yeah, and maybe pass me some of that meat after you're done. Yeah. We're starving here with this.
By the way, I'm room 6-1. My name's JaVale McGee.
Oh, you mean next door to LeBron? Yes, next door to LeBron. That's right. Same wing, same floor. But at least at the very top, it looks like they have a little bit of a Clorox to-go pack. So,
Sure.
at least they're sanitizing the area, right? They have all the little utensils and, they have the sanitary products over there. So I think they're okay. I think this is overblown.
Yeah, I guess. There's just a certain level to me that, food's supposed to be enjoyable. But to an athlete's eyes, it may just be sustenance and recovery and rebuilding and all that. So maybe
what? If you were to mix a lot of these things together, I think you could make this look pretty colorful. Like, imagine this is a Top Chef challenge for you.
Sure.
These are your ingredients. You have 10 minutes. Make it look as appetizing as possible. You could pull something off, right? You could totally do something cool with this.
Yeah, you could definitely do something really cool with it. The thing is, the only oil source you have is those butter balls, and I think it's mostly oil when it comes to that form anyways, instead of actual churned butter. So you may be able to, some roasted carrots, there's no form of bread for the cheese.
Dude, you could melt the cheese on top of the beef. How about that?
Make a little fajita, maybe. I see a red pepper.
Yeah.
One slice of red pepper in that top right with the onion.
You make do with what you got, and you have a fiesta right here in your platter. I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
So sure. I think Don and I both agree that the NBA players are complaining too much, and the snitching. Yeah. I find the snitching entertaining because I don't know who's doing it, but it's fun to think that it's LeBron. It's fun to think that it's like D'Angelo Russell again. Could you imagine? Like he's just in there, just like looking at everybody's DMs, his conversations. Like, hey, I just found out.
He's still calling out Young. You imagine? He's like, oh yeah, there's one guy, Nick Young here.
Yeah.
I don't know who he's with. He's with another girl.
I don't know who brought him in. Oh man. So I think it's important though that we mention the Clorox disinfectant because as we know, our president has informed us it may be good wise, it may be very good to inject yourself with the sunlight heat and the disinfectant because it eradicates the virus in a matter of seconds. Now, something that we have been telling the president to do for quite some time, but it took him a really long time to do it, is putting on a mask. And as you may have heard, and I'm going to pull up this article from Politico, which was published somewhat recently, I believe, on July 14th, written by Matthew Choi. And basically, Trump finally decided to publicly wear a mask. And he didn't look too happy while he was doing it. He was visiting a hospital, I believe. And, I asked the question, why now? Is it really just because he was visiting a hospital and they told him to do so and he had no other choice? Or is there some other hidden motivation behind this? What do you think about him wearing a mask right now?
No idea. The only thing I can really think of just right off the top is there's been spikes lately, and he's finally believing that, what is it, the chloroquine that he's been taking doesn't do shit. He finally understands that right now. And maybe, I think there was actually a article where Dr. Fauci himself basically disregarded Trump and sided with science for once, did it correctly, and Trump's finally listening to him, or those suggestions that, wearing a mask actually decreases the risk to less than 1% compared to not wearing a mask, stuff like that. He probably saw one of those memes and was like, oh, maybe I should.
I've also been hearing that Dr. Fauci and Trump are really no longer on good terms, and Fauci hasn't really been advising Trump for months. Like, apparently there's a real rift going on. So I don't know how much, truth there is to Trump finally heeding the advice and the caution and the good counsel from Dr. Fauci, but I hope he is. I hope this is the start of something, because a coworker of mine brought this up. He always says, imagine how many people Trump could save in America just by wearing a mask on a frequent basis. If Trump was out there on TV, maybe during his rallies, maybe during his press conferences, wearing a mask, as the leader of the Republican Party, as someone that many people, many Trump fans look up to, do you think that would have that kind of a positive effect to the masses? Like, you know what? If this guy's doing it, if our president's doing it, then I should too.
I think so, dude. Rather than siding with the Karens of our world, put on a damn mask and hit those less educated people that really look up to you as a hero figure that you should be. Be an example for once and step up to the podium doing the right thing. Even as simple as wearing or donning a mask can speak volumes. And I think he finally, hopefully, he finally does it because he knows it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, and I guess what bothers me, though, is
sunlight, heat.
That, of course, can bother me. It's not good for the skin with all this UV going around. But what I wonder is this, man. Like, why do you think, for the most part, Trump is so anti-mask? Is it because he believes that by wearing a mask, it may disenfranchise his voting base? Like, the people that did vote for him, maybe they're more hardened in their beliefs than we think, and they view the mask as a constitutional infringement. Like, it's infringing on their freedom of speech, their twisted perception of what that means. And they should be able to do whatever they want with their bodies, and by forcing themselves to wear a mask in public, it's just sending the wrong message to his voter base. Because what other reason is there, right? Like, what other reason does Trump have, do a lot of conservatives have for that matter, to not publicly endorse mask wearing? They can always say, oh, the science doesn't support it, the science doesn't support it. I just think that's so bullshit. Because look at the world in this perspective. Put aside these silly characters like Kyrie Irving, who I don't give a damn about. But for a long time, people thought that the earth was flat. Legitimately so. Hundreds of years ago.
Whoa. It's not flat?
It is not flat. We have learned that because of Galileo. But prior to that, people thought, and this was kind of a commonly known fact, quote-unquote fact, in the scientific community, that the earth was flat. And it had to be proven through different methods to show that the earth was indeed spherical. And it blows my mind because groupthink is so pervasive in society, right? Like when the masses think a certain type of way, we kind of treat that as scripture. We treat that as Bible. We treat that as the truth. And in America, the whole idea of wearing a mask during flu season was blasphemous. Nobody did that. Sure, you see it on TV for, Asian countries like in China, like in Taiwan, but in America, no way. Just take your Dimetapp, take your Robitussin, and be okay. Be done with you. Stop bitching and stop complaining about not having a mask at work. But now, the entire stigma behind wearing a mask is gone, and people everywhere in America, at least for the most part, are very much more tolerant and willing to wear a mask because they understand that, yeah, it makes perfect sense. The aerosols in the air are less likely to come to me if I have a mask on, and I'm less likely to infect others if I have it on myself. When I sneeze, when I do something, it all has a chance to infect other people. And you're just attenuating the number of viruses, the number of bacteria in the air. I just found it really interesting how it took us a pandemic where damn near 140,000 and climbing people have suffered, and damn near 3 million people worldwide have been officially recorded for having COVID-19. It took this kind of a pandemic for the whole world to realize the true efficacy of wearing a mask. So I just wanted to rant a little bit right there. It blows my mind, just blows my mind.
Hey man, and I think to kind of wrap things up,
sure,
to showcase kind of a little bit of what you said and link it back to where we started off. The groupthink mentality is being pushed much more heavily and much quicker because of social media. I think it's a self-feeding cycle that can get it out of control, and sometimes, like chance, you gotta not take a chance and just back the fuck out, because sooner or later that groupthink is going to build enough inertia that even you as a highly influential figure cannot control or even dictate. It's kind of sad.
Social media, for all the advances that we've made in technology, that may be one of the largest poisons of the world. We may have first viewed it as something super awesome, a tool to connect with others, but now it is something that is deciding people's careers. It is something that is exposing people's affairs, exposing people's characters and hidden lives, privacies and whatnot, and turning a simple message into an unstoppable force that completely gets out of hand, as Don alluded to. But something that we hope does not get out of hand is our subscriber base. We hope that you subscribe. We hope that you enjoy this podcast. And we know you're listening, and we appreciate that, from the bottom of our hearts. We really like whenever you guys tune in. And I appreciate the feedback, too, from time to time. We get some criticisms about...
I gotta yawn more. I gotta cough more. I gotta burp. Oh, I didn't burp this.
Thank you for not, and I'm sure you're trying hard to.
I'm trying right now. I might throw up, but I'm gonna make it happen.
Okay, please don't. But we. Oh. Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. I tried to stop him, ladies and gentlemen. You heard me. I tried to stop him.
You're welcome.
Yeah, there you go. Well, in any case, this has been another fun, riveting episode of the SoCal DNA podcast. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care.
Peace.